Welcome to Konoha Crush, a clandestine effort to exhaustively research and document events occurring in and around the village hidden in the leaves. I'm Paradise.
I'm Ren. Hi.
Hi. Oh my god, how's it going? How's it been? We're here. We're recording the podcast. It's only been 1 week since we last recorded the podcast. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting. We're doing it now. We're really doing it.
We're really doing it. We can totally be on Shipperton by the end of the year. That's my extremely conservative goal for ourselves that we could easily bypass probably, unless
Yeah. We're getting pretty close. It's
Yeah, it's what 9 episodes after this one.
Yeah. It's we got this. We got this.
Yeah. How have you been? Have you been up to anything?
Oh god, nothing new. Not really.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the same as I've been doing, right? Watching anime as it comes with you. Getting a feel for some of them. I've been thinking about Metallic Rouge, which is one of the shows we watched together a fair amount over the last week. Because I think that the girls... I forget if we talked about this in this show on this podcast before or not. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. But I think that the girls in that show are pretty fun. It's once they interact and do their little adventures or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
I think that there's this really fun aesthetic sense to it, right? There's some really striking design sensibilities. I think that thematically, it's shaping up to be pretty dumb. But well,
yeah, you wanna talk about it?
I don't know. It's just very I don't know. There's time for them to maybe write the course on that, right? But it's just very oh yeah, we have our our we've got the robots in the setting and they're oppressed, and we've got that whole metaphor going on, and we've got our main girl who's kind of she's starting out trying to hunt some quote unquote bad robots, but then she's learning more about the conflict, and it just kind of seems she's settling into a position of well, things should change, but nobody should do too much about it, right? Is that a feeling you get? Is that a...
I'm gonna be honest. Mostly, I don't pay attention to that one.
Okay, all right. You look when there's fun robot shit going on, or the girls are being silly, and you're woohoo! And then
yep,
they talk about their fucking robot races and metaphors, and it's I don't know. I'll circle back around to this when I'm.
Yeah, I'll circle back around to it when I give a shit, when it means something.
Right, when something silly is happening. It's just it's just something I've been thinking about, because it's there's a part of me that hold on. I need to look up a name, actually. I was I'm reevaluating some things I've felt. I'm realizing I can't place the ways that Carol and Tuesday was stupid just on Shinichiro Watanabe's shoulders, probably. I'm not giving him any slack. I think there's some ways that show is bad that feel distinctly him. But, I'm realizing that perhaps a lot of that, or part of that, rests with Motonobu Hori, who, was a director on that show and is directing this show. And I'm also realizing that, I feel if the show committed more to just the girls having, silly one-off adventures, I wouldn't even mind if, the thematic underpinnings were, significantly more evil. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It makes a lot of sense. I think the show should just be about, a cool robot polycule that fights all the time.
Right. And, every week you get your fight, and the girls do, some silly shit in the lead up to the fight or whatever, right?
Right.
As opposed to, I don't know, there's just so much, I don't know, You have the setup for they meet a new guy every week or two, and then they have a build up as in a situation they go to fight him, but it's actually just so much people talking about their kind of undercooked pretty misguided, I would say, thematic ideas of oppression or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like they could just be doing evil shit, but like in a like more serialized format that like played to the like show's strengths, and I would be having a better time, is what I've like kind of come to realize.
Okay, literally, this is what the show should have been. It should have been her taking out like, oh, there's like a scary group of like, you know, underground super immortal robots that can like fight, right?
That are like allowed to, that are like able to hurt humans or whatever.
Right. And she should be like, oh, you know, it's my job to go like take those out. And then she learns that those guys are like actually the bad guys. Or like those guys are actually the good guys. Sorry, I'm mega stupid.
That's okay.
Those guys are actually the good guys. And then there should just be like a second set of cool like fighting robots that like were her previous employers that she then fights instead.
Right. Like you just get like two sets of like fucking cool robots to fight.
Right. Right, because like you introduce like the one scary set and it's just like, oh no, like half of those guys are like really cool actually, and then they just like, and then it's the good guy team. And it's still just like not very serious, right? I feel like a big problem with the show is it takes itself like very seriously about its like, you know,
it takes itself very seriously, and it doesn't have anything particularly interesting or worthwhile to say.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. That's the thing that I've been like turning over in my head in regards to like my like weekly anime viewing and stuff. So I guess that's like what I have to say this
like
time.
I wish it knew it was as stupid it was as it was, right? Like,
right, absolutely.
Like the show's like understanding of like oppression dynamics is like, it makes sense if like the thing you're fighting for is the like a special USB chip that'll make it so every robot in the world no longer has to be a servant, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
If it's just like, oh, we gotta find the magic code that will like actually save everybody, but it's just like cool super robot fights, and like actually don't worry about it too much because the good guys are just gonna do the hero thing and save the world or whatever, right? Because like that's basically what's going on,
right?
It's just
but like just with like a significantly more like pontificating up to the point of being like, okay, right, centrism. But yeah, that's my what I've been like doing this week section. If you don't have anything else you want to talk about, we should get into Naruto.
Yeah, let's get into Naruto. Okay. Episode 194, The Mysterious Curse of the Haunted Castle. Naruto, Kiba, and Hinata are tasked with tracking down the missing lady of the Land of Honey, who disappeared on the road to the Land of Candy to visit family. On the road, the kids decide to take shelter from the rain in a big scary castle with nobody in it. They find a table set with food still hot. Hinata notices the seats match the number of missing people, and suggests they split up and explore the castle. Naruto finds some scary armor, and Hinata finds some kind of library where she learns about the history of the castle. And then the kids all get swallowed by the building.
Alright, yeah, so this is like another one-off episode. This is an episode that I think is like pretty like smart about like knowing what it can do within the constraints of one episode, and just like committed to doing like, here's our like scary haunted castle story, right?
Yep.
And I like appreciate that about it, right? Like I feel like as we get deeper into this, we're like getting glimpses of them getting a little better at like, okay, what do we do if we only have one episode? And like, you know, that's not like a straight road to getting better. Like we talked about like last week, there's like you know, maybe my least favorite episode of Naruto so far. But like, you know, this is just like, yeah, it's just
a pretty good one-off, right? Like it's
yeah, we're gonna put the guys in like a scary castle. I mean, like, you know, it feels like pretty well situated in terms of like, yeah, here's the kind of thing the characters would do or whatever. Here's like, you know, it feels like a story that's happening in Naruto. Which we'll get into like a little bit later, right? But like, it's I don't know, it's like. I think it totally works. I wind up feeling like kind of cool on it just because like I don't think there's like anything like super like exciting about the execution of it or whatever, right? Like it's just like, like visually it's like sort of flat. It's a lot of like I mean, here's like the ideas of the scary things happen, but there's not a lot of like, punch to them. But like that's just me being picky on some level, right? Like, if I wasn't, the person that I am, if I was like a kid watching the show, I'd be like, oh, I went to the scary castle out this week. That was fun.
Right?
From like our opening where we see like, some people going missing under like scary circumstances or whatever, we cut back to the Leaf, we get a kind of like light comedic opening of like, Tsunade is doing the mission briefing. It's definitely an instance of like this show kind of like drawing attention to the weirdness of the construction of like Naruto always needing to be here, where Tsunade's like, yeah, so you're like looking for like a missing like important person. So we're sending Hinata, who is like a sensory ninja. We're sending Kiba, who is like, also in that in that category. You can have his dog like sniffing, that sort of stuff. If only there was like a third guy, like a third sensory ninja we could put on a team with these two. If only there was like a unit we'd like created to like specialize in this. But like I don't know, we'll send Naruto even though he doesn't really have anything to do with this.
Well.
It does lead to like a kind of cute bit of like Naruto being like, what do you mean? I don't have anything special going on. And I was like, yeah, Naruto's cool. And she's like, yeah, tell her. And then I was like, yeah, tell Tsunade that I'm cool. And then she's like, she's kind of shy. She's put in the spot. I think that's like kind of a fun bit or whatever, right? But like, it is, like, so sometimes the show goes, why is Naruto here too, like directly, and
Yeah, and you're left to ponder too directly. Yeah, why is Naruto here?
Right. Yeah. But anyway, I guess the other thing about the scene to me is these are like we get our succession of like probably the fakest sounding place names we've had to date.
The land of candy,
the fucking land of candy, the land of necks they talk about, where the scary castle. Just
Literally, there is Candyland here.
There's Candyland here. We're never gonna. We don't see it. I don't know that there's going to be like a going into Candyland arc either.
No, there's a really scary castle on the way to Candyland. You can't go there.
You can't go there. I guess the thing to do that is just like, yeah, we get to the scary castle, I guess, right? Like, there's not a lot between like, them going on the mission and they find the scary castle. It's very, it's really like getting right into it, right? Like it's I forget if you said this on the episode or just when we were like talking off the air, where like you called this episode like Scooby-Doo bullshit.
And
it's like it's like interesting because there is like a very like similar kind of like construction to like, yeah, we go into the like scary place or whatever, we like get entangled in the thing there, we get entangled into like
literally down to like, oh no, let's split up.
Right.
Like it's so Scooby-Doo.
Right, but just like with the absence of like a mystery, really, right? Like there's no like guys there to like do that part of the formula. So it's like a weird partial reconstruction of it again. And I don't even know how like
there's like kind of a mystery, right? They're looking for missing people, but
there's not like a whodunit or anything, right? There's not like a
right. There's not like a ghost that they've seen in the cast that are trying to like disprove or whatever, right?
Right.
Like,
which is like, I think that's fine ultimately. I think the way that like this winds up being like shaped out as like here's the thing that happened in the world of Naruto is like kind of like a sentimental ghost story or whatever, winds up being really fun.
Absolutely.
But it's just the rest of this episode is just they like go into the castle, they see some like mysterious shit. You get the classic, you look at the painting and the eyes move, wandering through hallways where there's a bunch of like armor standing around and like maybe one of them tries to look at you a little bit.
Can I talk about the armor for a sec?
Yeah, totally.
The armor's so fucking funny to me. Because in style and proportion, like it's not a style of armor that we see like elsewhere in Naruto very much, and it reads very like medieval knight to me. In a way that's like, clearly like trying to fit the like, gothic scary castle vibe, right? But like in Naruto, but then like the individual pieces of the armor are all like, they look like Naruto armor. They look kind of like samurai inspired. They're very like, but then like the like overall design of the like the whole fit reads very like knight, and I think that's cute.
Yeah, like I think it's like like in addition to the standard bits, I think it's like fun, like kind of lead to the like it's like a weird flesh horror castle where it's got like big fucking like teeth that are coming down over the doors, and you got the like
Yeah.
you got all like the flesh walls like swallowing people up and stuff. I think it's like okay, we're it's like the sort of thing where it's like I feel like the biggest like limit to this episode is just the fact that it's just like not super like visually like exciting, right? Because like I think the ideas are there, right? Like I think the ideas of like
we haven't like gotten into it yet, but the ideas of like like the like scary house and like the like uncanny like frightening stuff happening to the kids, and also like in like the next part where they like figure out what like the actual thing is, and I think it's like really fun.
Yeah, but
what the actual thing is, right?
Right. Like even before getting into that, it's just like the way it kind of like goes from the standard, like okay, you're going through like haunted castle, you're seeing like the standard stuff, and it just kind of like unfolds into this growing like monstrous like building stuff. It's like I think that's like it's like a fun escalation, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Is there more you want to say about this half of the episode? Is there anything else you want to point out?
No.
All right.
I mean, I think we should like elaborate that like the castle was like attacked a long time ago.
Oh,
and, like,
right. Yeah,
died,
yeah,
right. Like the actual like history of the castle.
Right. I totally forgot to mention that. That's totally worth bringing up, also. Right. I don't know. Is there anything you want to say about that specifically? Is there anything you wanted to like?
I don't know. Hinata reads some scary shit about how the castle was like going to be attacked, and the like. The like lord or whatever like had some like scary like ominous shit to say about what he was going to do if that happened, right?
Like how everybody who came here would die or whatever.
Yeah.
Because there's some solid ghost story stuff.
Yeah.
All
right, ready to move on?
Yeah, totally.
They meet up in the basement, and Hinata tells them what she knows about the castle. Naruto trips on a random soldier corpse, and the kids identify the remains of the lord of the castle. Hinata finally decides to look at the castle with her Byakugan, and discovers the castle is covered in a massive partial summon, like Jiraiya's Toad Tummy Wall thing. Hinata finally decides to look at the castle with her Byakugan, and discovers the castle is covered in a massive partial summon, like Jiraiya's Toad Tummy Wall thing. They find the lady in the basement, but can't free her safely before they dismiss the summon. Giba dog drills their way back to the first floor, and fight the house on their way to the scroll binding the summon. They're met by the ghost of the Lord of the Manor, who guides the kids to the scroll and helps them dismiss the summon. With the whole building gone, the kids stand around and wonder why the ghost showed up to help.
I think it's so fun that it's like, yeah, it's a big animal. The castle is like a fucking chameleon that's pretending to be a big castle to like eat people.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's like slightly making good like a wise Naruto here a little bit, where he like they're starting to figure out. He's like, oh, this is like that freak shit that Jiraiya always does.
Right. I think it's like, I don't know. I think it's really fun how it's like a big chameleon and how like it makes sense for all the like like illusion stuff that's going on. Like it makes total sense for like a chameleon to be like like a weird like illusion trickstery type of big summon.
Like once you imagine a big magic chameleon, so like yeah, this connects, this clicks for me.
Yeah, right.
I think that's really fun. I like the like. I do kind of like the sort of like weird incongruous like fighting against a building, trying to like break through it, like way that the action is kind of framed, right? Where it's like there's not really like a single like we need to like it's like okay, we need to get to this place, we need to like like avoid all this like weird shit that's happening, and like it's not even like a single like we do like a big attack to defeat it moment, right? I mean like Naruto does his Rasengan, we'll talk about it a bit later, but like it's not like it's not like there's a moment of like okay, we just need to like hit it hard enough. It's just like we need to fucking make it through the fucking scary building we're in that's like keeps trying to attack us in like all these different ways, right? And I don't know, I think it's like I feel like talking about this isolated from like watching it, I feel like these are like really really solid here, right? Like it just,
right. Like it's like a fun different kind of challenge for the kids to have, right?
Yeah. I like they each get to do shit along the way of it, right? Like I mean, both Naruto and Kiba's big like contributions are like breaking through like a wall at separate points, but like whatever. I don't know. It's fine. I like the really like sentimental angle of like the guy's ghost shows up to be like yeah, I summoned this chameleon and I want him to be free or whatever, right? Like I like that kind of like, I don't know. It's like a really like sweet sort of sentimentality of like, oh, I bound this fucking like creature here with my hate, but I'm tired of seeing him like, stuck here and like suffering and making people suffer like this. I want him to go back to his fucking chameleon world or whatever. I don't know. It's just nice. It's just nice.
Yeah, it's just nice. It's like it's a good episode.
Yeah. I think like
it's not as like pretty as flashy as I would have
Right. It's like it's the kind of thing where like the base premise is like strong enough that like I would have liked to see like a team that could have gone more all out, but there isn't really like a lot of teams that go all out like on the production at this point. The last thing I want to point out is just like a really like kind of dumb nitpicky thing. It's not even really a complaint. I just think it's funny like when Naruto is doing his Rasengan, he just like throws it through the wall. Mostly because I think it's really funny whenever like they have a character like do something that will like later be revealed to be a big deal that they don't know how to do. Because it's just not like clearly defined enough yet. Like Naruto's gonna go through like multiple like training sequences to like reach the point of like Rasengan you can throw.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It was like a special circumstance. He was like really scared. He dug deep.
It was just we were just looking at it at a weird angle. It wasn't really a throw.
Okay. Yeah. It's not really a complaint. It's just one of those things that leaps out to me as like sometimes you're just like making things happen in the show, and then like it like later on like stuff gets built in a way that like makes it seem kind of like incongruous, right? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Totally.
Do you have anything else you want to say about this one?
Nope.
Okay, let's move on.
Episode 195, The Third Super Beast. Rock Lee is due for a checkup, but he isn't feeling well, and he's worried about the results. So instead of thinking about that, he's working out to avoid the stress. This is bad for the boy. Naruto and Tenten drag him to Tsunade, who tells him he needs to let himself rest, and that he's still recovering from the long-term effects of his injuries and surgery. Lee wants to keep training, so Tsunade relents, saying he just can't do the Lotus for a while. Guy finds Lee on their little balcony, and comforts him about the news. They head back to the training hall and meet up with Guy's new student, a mean tea-girl named Yagura. Lee spars with her, and she immediately shows that she's out to steal martial arts techniques from Guy, and intentionally injures Lee's surgery leg. This episode's fucking weird.
This episode's weird. This like 2-episode arc is weird, right? Like it's very I don't know, right? Like I don't want to get into like too much like the broader like shape of that, but it is just like
okay, so far as we've seen it, I don't hate an episode where we have to like take a step back and look at Lee and go like, okay, Lee, like hold on. Let's look at how Lee is handling like having to treat his body differently, right?
Right. No, I think that's like a good idea.
Yep.
It's kind of weird that it took this long after like a bunch of like Lee going on like missions arcs. I guess not that many, but there's a couple of them, right? And like, but like that's whatever, right?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. It's like it's like a totally solid idea. Like here's how we like dig into the character more, but it's also like it doesn't really like it never really feels like in this half of the episode or in the arc more broadly that we're like really like pushing Lee into like a new place that much, right? Like it just kind of like it just kind of like winds up being this point of like, okay, like here's a situation Lee's in. He's got to like stop training, like stop like going on missions, and he's like he can like maybe train, but he can't do his like big dangerous like self-damaging techniques. But like at any point where it's like, how is Lee feeling about this? We just kind of get like characters telling us things we already know about Lee.
Yeah.
Right. Like we get like I don't know. Right? It's just very like it feels very preoccupied with like establishing stuff to the point where we don't really get any like real like I don't know. I think it feels like really character formful from him.
Like Lee himself feels very one-dimensional in this little arc, right? Like
like he wants to keep getting stronger. He wants to, like, he's committed to getting stronger. He's like going to tell everybody that he wants to keep like training and getting stronger, and he wants to be like, guy's cool son. And he's like put in this position where like maybe he has to like not do that, but he doesn't think about it. Really, right. He's not going to think about that, and like like not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but like he doesn't really progress past that point.
No. Arguably worse.
Yeah.
Arguably he gets worse.
Yeah.
like, not to get ahead of ourselves here, right? But like, it was very hard for me to watch this and not like look at everything Guy was saying. Like, Guy, you're killing your boy.
Right, but that's not even the fucking like that's what the story is trying to tell. But it's like,
right,
like I don't know. It's like it's weird, right? Because like watching this episode the first time, there was like, am I gonna have anything to say about this or whatever? It just feels very like rote or whatever. But like watching it again the second time, like before we recorded, like having seen the whole arc play out, it was very like, what are we doing here?
Right. Oh my god. Like I don't hate like there's a pivot, right? There's a pivot where it stopped being about this, and like I don't hate either version. It's just like they don't go together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like again, like that's what just feels like very like committed to like setting up a story that the next episode won't tell.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. To that effect, right? Like we, Leah's, the fact like Lee meets up with Guy. They talk a little bit. They remember the conversation that they had before surgery. And they go off to like meet like a new boy that Guy is training, or a new T-girl. Yeah. They have that whole.
Naruto loves having evil T-girls. What the fuck is up with it? Like honestly, like actually though, right?
Like, how literally do you mean actually? How did like
I just think all of the very femme characters, all of the very femme boys in Naruto are just like evil twinks.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. It does love those. Like especially in like anime original stuff. It's like, okay, what kind of guy do we make up? How about like an evil femme?
Yeah, right. Like literally, how about an evil T-girl? Right. Like every anime, like. You've been listening to this podcast, right? Like, every anime original villain is an evil T-girl. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it just happens like that. Like, what are they doing?
Right. And, like, to be clear to people listening to the podcast who might be watching the show, it's not like a literal, like...
No, it's not, like, actual, like...
like, the points where I would accuse the show of being, like, actually trans, misogynist or whatever is, like, I mean, look, we had that episode last week, but, like, it's not like literally the thing, but it is very much like there's like a mode of like villain or whatever that like most of the guys that make up for the anime definitely fit into.
Right, I'm just saying if you look at a character, if I can look at a character and go like, oh, that's a trans woman with like no further explanation, and like it just fits, it just makes sense.
But yeah, so the
oh my god, Naruto's so fucking misogynistic. Fucking the thing that they do to make a boy seem evil is to make is to make him more like a girl. It's like literally true, actually, is what they're doing.
Anyway. Moving from that line of inquiry a bit, right? Like, establish the little facts of those characters. Like, yeah, here's like a new like, taijutsu specialist that like has been sent to Guy for like evaluation for like how good he is at like fighting and stuff, right? I guess sort of like being primed for like, I don't know, like maybe being like sent to the academy or whatever. Like everybody's like, yeah, like we want to like see if this character has the potential to like be a ninja or whatever they talk about him.
But he already has a headband.
He already has the headband. I don't know. Like we're disconnect there. It doesn't really matter. I guess this isn't even like
it's not even the real boy.
This isn't even a real character that's in the show, so it doesn't like matter. But like it's a weird bit inconclusive. Guys, like, all right, yeah. How about Lee? How about you fight this guy? How about you like immediately get into sparring, which is like to the tune of like, guy, you're like killing your son, right? It's like, I feel like the reason that Leah is like, you know, being told, like, yeah, you can train if you want, but don't do your danger techniques and don't go on missions, is perhaps to prevent him from being in a situation in which he'll be in like combat or anything. So of course, Guy like instantly is like, yeah, hey, go fight this kid. They fight for a bit. Yagura does the fucking like evil special attack, and Lee's leg gets injured again. Like his only avoids being broken because of like his like special like
his training weights.
Yeah, his training weights. Sorry, I blanked on what his training weights were called. I like there's this moment of like Yagura like seeing this and being like, oh my god, he was that fast even without like the training weights, as like if it's like setting up some sort of like rivalry or like conflict between these characters that kind of doesn't exist as like a concern within the story.
No, because they like barely talk and then the jig's up, right? Like,
right? Yeah. I'm constantly kind of perplexed by what this arc is trying to do, like moment to moment, with like where it's like directing its attention. Because it just feels like it's a lot of like establishing details that it will then like quickly be like done with, right?
Right. Like the whole the stuff about Lee's injuries, right? And like Lee needing to like take care of himself better, right? Like like I see what they're trying, right? Like they're trying to set up a situation where Lee feels like he is like lesser, and like, you know, like the like emotional thrilling they're trying to go for is like Lee feeling like he's losing his dad.
Right. And they point that more
like very clearly,
episode,
right? Right. But like they're using Lee's like health as like an impetus for that, and like they could have just had the boy kick his ass.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and then been like, haha, I'm not actually a child. I'm like a, you know, I'm like a real shinobi that is like out to hurt people, right? And like it wasn't actually a friendly spar, and like the reason that you lost then was because you know, were treating it as a friendly spar. Like,
right.
It just doesn't have to be about the like, oh, Lee, you're like injured, when like, again, like not to get ahead of ourselves, but like the very like dissonant thing about the arc is like the way that it's resolved is that like, oh, Lee and Guy like love each other so much that they're like perfectly able to like identify each other's like combat styles and like escalate in like perfect harmony to a point where like nobody else can stand up to it, which like eventually which is just Lee doing like big dangerous stuff with his body, like he's doing the exact wrong thing,
right? Like he like sometimes like, okay, don't use the fucking lotus, and like Lee does the lotus and then escalates several points beyond that.
right
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I guess we should just like kind of move on, because we're just kind of like sprawling out of this half of the episode, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sakura patches Lee up, but tells him like actually now he needs to stop training and take care of himself. On his way home, he hears Naruto and Tenten catch Neji up on the situation, where they convey how strong and cool and capable Lee is, but are obviously worried about him. Yagura does her mean T-girl thing to Lee, trying to make him think Guy has given up on him and is training her instead because she's just better than him. She heads out with Guy on an easy baby mission. But oh no, it turns out the real Yagura was found injured in the woods, and the one with Guy is an imposter. Tsunade sends Naruto, Neji, and Tenten after them, and Guy runs into an obvious trap with animated training dummies.
Yeah, so Naruto's like catching up with Tenten and Neji. They're like they're like getting ramen together. They're talking about how fucking cool Rock Lee is, right? Lee stops by and like hears him talk about how cool he is a little bit, but then they talk about like, oh, if he trains too much, he could like get injured and like fuck up his body even more. And like Lee like hears that and gets like dejected and like walks away, and then they continue talking like more about how cool he is and how he won't be kept down by this or whatever. It's very I don't know. It's like it's like straddling the line between like kind of sweet and kind of like a little like over to the point of like this episode seems very like invested in be like, hey, you should know who Rock Lee is, right? Like, like it is nice that we get like we've often talked about how Neji like feels like he was just the guy he was when he first appeared in this, and I do think it is nice that we get like Neji specifically being like, Lee's cool, I respect him a lot, he's done a lot for me.
Like, literally. I also think it's cute how we get the other members of Lee's team expressing how much, like, something that they appreciate about Lee is how, like, much of a freaking, like, open to guy shit he is. Right?
Right. Where it's like, oh yeah, like a guy has like a fucking person who's like on board with a particular brand of bullshit. You know, they can do their things together, and like they don't have to deal with their like teacher either like fucking like roping them into it or like being like you don't want to be in a situation where your fucking teacher's like constantly complaining that nobody's wearing your like bad outfits that he wants to give you.
Right.
So you just need to be the one guy who's like, you know, who's like on that level with him, and
right, like they're so real for this because, like, actually, can you imagine Guy without a Rock Lee? Like,
oh my god, he'd be miserable.
he'd like live under Kakashi's stairs like a puppy, right? Like,
yeah. Just jumping out to ambush him every time like Kakashi like leaves or enters his house.
Right, like
just nothing else going on. Speaking of Guy, he's getting a mission from Tsunade who's like, hey, you know, I know this is like a bullshit baby like C rank mission, it's like beneath you, but like you're the guy who's available. Kind of sweeping aside the fact that there's like, you know, fucking Naruto and Neji and Tenten are just off eating ramen together. Right now, it's very much like a thing that happens for the like construction of the episode. It's kind of it feels very contrived, right? Just to like make sure everybody gets into the positions they need to be. Where a guy hears it's like, oh, I know, I'm gonna like take this fucking like new fight boy off of my mission with me. I'm gonna take
right. Okay, like it doesn't even have to be contrived. Like literally, Guy could have just walked up and be like, "Hey, Tsunade, do you have like a C rank mission I can take this boy on?"
Right, yeah.
Right, like it doesn't even have to be overly convenient.
Right, like they like just do the version of this that they would need to take like a longer walk to, for reasons that are beyond me. I can't. I won't ever become the person who can like understand why this arc was written in the way it was. But anyway, like, he's like heading out to do that. Before he does, like Yagura like meets up with Lee and is like, I bet Guy fucking hates you because I'm so much cooler than you. I bet I'm Guy's new son. You're not even gonna have a dad anymore. I'm gonna go leave and do a cool mission with him. And we're gonna like walk out of the village like laughing together while you look on sadly.
Right. It's like, I'm Guy's new favorite boy. That's why I'm going on the cool special mission with him. It's just like, shut the fuck up, bitch.
I don't know why he does this.
I don't know. Like, just to be cruel. Like, just to be mean to the hurt kid, I think.
Right.
Your dad killed my dad, and that's why I have to steal him from you.
God. But, like, this isn't, like, a... Like, this isn't really the conflict that gets, like, built upon,
it doesn't,
right? Like, this isn't, like, a...
It should have been. They should have been dealing with this a lot more than, like, talking about, like, Lee's, like, health.
Right. Like, if like, you know, if Guy was, like, in this position of, like, yeah, I need to, like, look after this fucking, this new kid for a while, and Lee's like, oh, I want to train with you, and Guy is, like, you know, keeps being, like, actually, I need to, like, look after this or whatever, right?
God, can you imagine, sorry, not to play fucking, like, Naruto Doctor again, Can you imagine if it was like Lee actually being responsible about his health that like was causing that divide and that like kind of like perceived schism between like him and Guy, right? Mm-hmm. If Lee was just like, no, I actually like have to stop training now, and was like worried about that disappointing Guy, and like, that was the tension.
Yeah. Oh my god. Right. Because then like. I mean, like,
because then the whole like Guy has like a new favorite now is like so much more grounded in like an actual emotional state that Lee could have.
Yeah, right. Where he's like, yeah, he's always like doing that like over top training shit, but like if he's like, yeah, I need to like, you know, sit out my fucking like walking around the leaf in my hands thing, and he sees fucking Guy and Yagura doing like fucking like walking around the leaf on their hands together, and he's like, oh fuck. Ultimately, you probably don't resolve that arc in the way that this like arc gets resolved either. So like,
Well, okay, but it can still be like Lee still goes on missions. He's just taking care of himself a little bit more and not being so like over the top for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Right, he could still like show up and help, and like I do like the resolution of like, oh, they're like put into like, God, way ahead of ourselves.
Way ahead of ourselves. Okay, yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Immediately after Yagura and Guy leave the village, she's gonna be busting on Tsunade, who's like, fuck, we found the real Yagura. That's a fake. We need to go send these like 3 kids that we had just lying around to go like rescue Guy from this fucking like unknown evil imposter. I guess like I feel like I've been complaining a lot. Something I do think is like, and it's not like 100% hit right here, but something that's like to this episode's credit a little bit is I think there's like a real like commitment into like storyboard, like on that level, to be like, let's have like more than just the characters like standing there and like talking a lot. Like when we like go and like check in on Lee while he's like avoiding his checkouts. He's like in his dojo that he built and he's like training there.
Right.
We have. This...
I love the dojo continuity.
Yeah, like Shizune busting in Tsunade here. She's got her like fake arms to like pretend she's like reading while she's like secretly like fucking drinking with her real arms or whatever. Just like this really like ridiculous visual, right? But it's just like consistently throughout this episode. There's like very often this sense like here's like a little extra like thing going on visually, as opposed to just the characters like standing there. And I do appreciate that. This is a Shinji Sato board, and I've talked about him as like a so a storyboarder who is not like perhaps into like immediately like most highly recognized like Naruto like storyboarders, but like as somebody who like often like brings a little bit extra like to the show. And I think that's like evident here, right? Like even as the plot construction is kind of a mess.
I think it's really cute that like because someone was just like, oh, okay, they walk up on Lee training, and then there was just like, oh, there was like an episode that's like supposed to come out recently about Lee making a dojo. Let's just put him in that dojo. I think that's hilarious. Yeah, I think that rules, right? I think it's so fucking cute because like you wouldn't expect that to be more than like it was just a one-off, right? Like it was just a one-off funny bit episode about Lee building a funny dojo, right? Like
that shit never comes up again. Except sometimes it does, and then it's like cute, and you can point it out, and you're like, oh shit, I was watching this show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, like literally.
And like like to that point, like I think when like Guy like runs off and gets into the obvious trap where he's like running through like a mountain like path, like he's running like through some sort of pass. He's like on like some sort of like raised like narrow pathway. And Yagura like falls off, and Guy like runs after him, and like goes into like the training dummy like field. I think that bit of like Guy like having all of his like training dummy fights is like kind of like it's like kind of cute. There's like some fun staging to it where he's just like he's just like constantly being like, yeah, I get what's going on here, and like having that like understanding like pulled out from him is like the training dummies like do something like that he didn't expect or whatever, right? But he's like he's like he's fucking Guy. He's like good at this shit, so he's like on top of it still, right? So it's just kind of like I don't know. I think that stuff is fun, right?
Right, and they do something cute with like repeated phrasing, where like each time the dummy does something that's like new, he like says the same thing again.
Like I think that like I think there's fun stuff in this episode, right? Like I think there's like fun stuff in both of these episodes, which just makes it so frustrating that like the overall like emotional arc and like things that are supposed to be happening are so like weird and muddled.
Totally, right? Like
yeah, I don't know. Is there more?
There's a lot of it that's just weird.
Yeah. Do you want to get to the next one?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Episode 196: Hot-blooded confrontation. Student versus sensei. And Yagura reveals herself to actually be the T-girl or Gensho, and also her siblings Rokako and Jacko are here. Turns out their dad had beef with Guy and then died mad about it. The kids show up to help Guy and end up fighting a bunch of dummies. Neji can see the chakra seals animating them, though, and points out the hidden tag on the back of their heads. They still run into trouble when the T-girl and her siblings take control of some puppets directly. They almost get overwhelmed, but Lee shows up to help.
Okay, so do you know the deal with the Ryodoin brothers?
No.
Okay, because...
Vaguely. No.
Okay. Because like I'm looking at them like, oh, these guys are like very designed, and there's like 3 of them, and like you could make an account for like maybe one of them like doing something. What's up with that? So I would, you know, so the thing that's up with that is that these guys are also the villains of like a Nintendo DS Naruto RPG that released like 2 weeks before this arc began airing. I didn't play that. I didn't look too much deep into it. I didn't decide to like go and like see what happens in this video game as part of my like prep for this podcast or whatever. I'm not that I'm not that insane about Naruto. But the thing is peculiar to me is that like from the like snippets that I've seen on the wiki, they seem to just be like totally different guys. And they all die in that video game. So like
right, so it's just reusing the designs for like
yeah.
Okay.
Like from like very brief like plot snippet, it seems very much like they're like, you know, like side content, like original Naruto villains who like betray and kill each other and then get killed, as opposed to like some ultimately like good-natured guys who like misunderstood what their like what their dad felt and learned a lesson or whatever, right?
Right. God, like again, ahead of ourselves. I love how everyone ends this whole interaction like kind of just pals.
Yeah.
Literally, she like reveals like her more evil form, and it's more femme. By the way.
Yeah.
Just like her true, honest form is more femme, and that's like a reveal of evil intention. By the way, just letting everyone know.
Yeah, you know, back in the Leaf, you know, Lee is like training more. He notices that Sakura's there. And he was like, hey, is something up? And, you know, Sakura, like, tries not to say anything, but he's like, okay, something's definitely up. I'm going to go run off in the direction that guy was or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's not actually a ton to that. I don't know, there's not actually a ton to, like, this first half of the episode in a lot of ways, right?
It was a shorter one, too.
Yeah, but, like, a lot of it was just like, okay, yeah, the kids are, like, fighting puppets, you know, they learn, they have to, like, tear the, like, tags off of them, and they, like, do that for a little bit, but then, like, there's more of them, and Lee shows up, and then, I don't know,
Yep.
That's the sass.
Lee gets caught up on the situation, and the Lincoln Log dojo expands into a castle. Lee charges in, and ends up in a training dummy proxy fight with Guy. They recognize each other's fighting style and communicate via tapping code with their feet. The result is just go all out and expect the dummies to not be able to keep up with them. They open gates and everything. It's kind of fucked. They explode the castle, and T-Girl and her siblings are too tuckered out to fight. Guy tells them their dad was cool, and that they should be cool too. Oh, also it's very important Lee goes to the hospital now.
Alright, so something I did forget to talk about in the first half of the episode is I love when they're like accusing Guy of killing the dad. He's like, oh yeah, your dad, that guy was like cool as hell. I fucking love that dude.
Yeah.
We had an awesome fight. It's in a fucking book about myself that exists.
Want that book.
Yeah. Merely, like, Lee shows up and fucking, you know, like, the castle, like, expands to be like, alright, yeah, Lee's here, now the fucking main event can begin. I don't, like, this kind of signals, like, the shift from the episode into being like, I don't know why most of this happened the way it did, right? Like,
right.
Like, like, cause like, yeah, like Lee charges into the castle, and everybody's like, yeah, Lee, go in there. Like, everybody is like no longer worried about the fact that Lee needs to be like taking care of his health. They're like, yeah, we'll like make you go into the obvious trap. You're good for that, right? And you know, they like, you know, set up the trick of like, yeah, here's like puppets that are like, you know, mimicking the like, you know, Lee and Guy's moves to like make them like beat each other to death or whatever, right? But I don't know why any of this, like, how any of this connects to, like, the stuff that was happening.
Right, like, it doesn't. In fact, it is, like, directly fucking, like, incongruous with it, right?
Like I don't know why you go to, like, all that huge effort of being, like, yeah, we're making, like the huge effort, like, yeah, we like neatly like separated, and we needly like to not be in like peak condition for this plan, like this villain plan, like later hinges on like, yeah, Lee needs to like go all out, right? Like it's weird that like,
God,
like I don't even know like that Lee and Guy need to be like separated outside of just like like they could just build the castle around them and they could like already have been together, right? Like there's not like a
right. Like literally fucking Naruto Doctor. Stepping back in now that we've like read the whole episode, right? Like the tension about like Guy taking Yagura like out on a mission, and like Lee feeling like, oh, like Guy doesn't fucking like, I'm not Guy's favorite anymore, right? Like, you know, and like that resolving and like learning that like, oh, Guy is, you know, oh, it was a trap and we need to go help him. Like Lee could have just gone with that first party, right?
Yeah.
In the version of the story where it's not like weirdly focused on Lee's health.
Right.
And then, like they could have gotten to the castle, right? And had the like dummy proxy fight, and had them like identify each other, right? And then instead of like blow yourself up to escape the castle, if it was like a guy being like, oh, I recognize my boy, and then, you know, the thing that actually wins is them like not having to fight.
Right.
You know, is Guy being like, if the growth here is Guy like showing care for Lee, that is like, oh, I recognize that like Lee is not in a position to go all out in the way that I can to like defeat the castle, and so he takes over and does it, right? Like, right? Like, it feels so easy to do that,
right? Good. And like I don't even like strictly dislike the like, oh, they need to like go out and they like overload the puppet and like they break it, like I don't like that could be a resolution to like a different story, right?
Right.
But like as it is, it's just like we spent like an episode and a half being like, oh, Lee is gonna be fucked if he like, you know, keeps pushing himself this hard, and he opens the fucking like fifth gate again, and it's like
right, like literally it should have just been Guy doing that. To like, you know.
Yeah. It's
if like recognizing that like Rock Lee was in this situation and like wrecking Lee's fighting style and like recognizing like the ways that Lee's fighting style is like faltering due to his injuries, right? Because this is like, you know, they were like actually fighting, you know? And like if like that's the thing that it takes to like Guy for like Guy to like see that like, oh, Lee needs to like, Lee still needs to recover, right? Like it's not over for him, right?
But say we get to the show where like it doesn't matter at all that Lee is like in poor health until they like reference it at the end of the episode. Like they're not gonna fucking touch on this thread again, right? Like Lee's gonna be fucking fine next episode, right? Like, yeah, no, this was the little arc we get about that, and like that's what that is, right? That's how they leave it. It's just so baffling to me. It's just I don't even know what else there's to say about it. Like without just repeating that like same point over and over again. Like they just spent so long like telling a story that they didn't resolve. Right, and like I like a Guy and Lee's relationship here, right? Like I like that they're able to like recognize the fighting styles. I love how like passionate they are about their like, you know, bond as like student and teacher. I think a lot of that is like genuinely very beautiful. Right. It's like, just like in isolation, the fucking like thing that the stuff that they do here is like really fun, right? It's just right. But then it created the context where it doesn't work, like painstakingly, like yeah. Fucking Naruto. Yeah. Is there much more you want to say about? Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know if there is, right? Like, it's just weird. It's just. All right. Well, hey. What are we watching next week then? Next week we are watching the third Naruto movie, which is called Guardians of the Crescent Moon Kingdom? I'm not sure. I don't know. It's called something. It's the third Naruto movie. You know, even if I got the title wrong, it's they only made one third Naruto movie. So all right, well, hey. If you can't wait, check out our Patreon. Patreon.com/Konoha Crush. All one word, Konoha Crush. For just $3 a month, you get access to episodes up to a week early.
And for 5, you get access to our bonus show, Narukai Uzumaki, where we talk about like isekai and isekai adjacent stuff. The next Narukai Uzumaki episode is going to be about the like Sword Art Online movies,
The progressive
ones, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to that. Still on the Patreon, I want to shout out our $20 joining tier patrons. Right now it's just Izzy. What's up, Izzy? Appreciate you. Love you so much. If you like the show, tell your friends. Talk about you know what to do.
Spread the word. Spread the word.
Spread the word. We're the smartest bitches on the internet.
I don't want to make any claims like that, but
I'm the smartest bitches on the internet.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Anything else to say? You stream on Twitch. I'm making a video game.
Yeah, I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/VerdictVelvet, where I'm like still playing through all the Fire Emblem games. I'm in Thracia 776 right now. That game is pretty cool so far. Excited to see where it goes. That's my plug there. Maybe eventually I'll be doing more there, but like right now it's just kind of the one stream.
Yeah. I'm making a video game. It's called Skeleton. I'll make posts about it eventually,
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, well, hey. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, there's no such thing as filler.